Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folare. We'll continue our look at the budget. This time, our guest is from the House of Representatives in the person of Honorable Philip Agbese. He's Deputy Spokesman, House of Reps, APC member from Agbese Federal Constituency of Benue State.
Thank you so much.
We're so happy that you could come. In fact, we really are appreciative because as we speak, you were just telling me before we came on air that your colleagues are actually in session, in plenary, on this matter.
Yes.
This seems to go back to what we were hearing. It wasn't just talk, that this was being taken with the utmost kind of urgency.
Well, His Excellency, the Right Honorable Speaker, Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas had made it very clear to Nigerians before now that the 10th House of Representatives is going to be entirely different from what we used to have in the past, that it's not going to be business as usual, and that we are going to conduct every single business with the highest level of importance attached to it, to not just to prove to the Nigerian people that we're interested in their welfare, again to reaffirm, our legislative agenda, the 10th Assembly's legislative agenda, that we are out to serve the Nigerian people, and their welfare remains our priority.
Well, there's a sense in which that is what every single member of the House of the legislature should have forward and center. I'm sure you're not saying it hasn't been the case in the past.
Well, we cannot exactly say so because some persons were in the other assemblies, the 8th, 9th, and now in the 10th Assembly. For those of us who are coming for the first time, we came together, to elect this current speaker to lead the 10th Assembly's House of Representatives, and based on our belief in his ability and capacity to deliver, not just on the individual campaign promises, again, our collective campaign promises as a parliament, and to a large extent, we want to see things done differently this time around. When you talk about the budget, in time past, there have been issues with the budget, and we have made up our mind, to say that going forward, from June 13th, when we came on board, in line with the Renew Hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and in line with our legislative agenda, that the masses of our great country must feel the impact of government. And to that extent, we are out, like you rightly mentioned, that the House is in session as we speak, that today is Friday. So for His Excellency, the Right Honorable Speaker, to convene the sitting of the House today shows the seriousness. Again, we as politicians, it is one thing for us to say one thing, it is another thing for politicians to mean exactly what they say. And sometimes, again, some people mean what they say, but not able to execute what they meant and what they have said. So this time around, we want to show to Nigerians that the 10th House of Representatives is not only out to mean what they say, but we want to see that what we mean and what we say is exactly what the Nigerian people get at the end of the day.
These are tough times for the ordinary Nigerian. Indeed, maybe even for, the big men, as it were. It still is tough because times haven't been like this. We're talking about shortage of food, prices, rising prices, and people have been calling for any sort of assistance, any sort of palliative. And so, having taken a cursory look at, the budget, do you see that this is indeed being targeted to be addressed? Because everybody is just asking, we just need some relief. Even as we agree that, yep, it's the same all over the world, but these are tough times.
Well, we must all agree that, yes, it has been tough, not just in our country, globally. But the good thing about the situation here in our country is that in the face of the hardship, we are seeing hope. Hope in the sense that we have seen a government that is committed, to its duties, a government that is living up to the expectations of the Nigerian masses. One, the removal of fuel subsidy, which took place after the inauguration of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We have all agreed long time ago that it was necessary, for us to abort that kind of corruption. Every country has record of corruption here and there, but the notorious one we had in the country before His Excellency assumed office, where few individuals take the resources of the entire country, pocket for their own use, and sometimes not even some time ago when the past administration was investigating somebody who was once the head of the petroleum ministry. We saw dollars stashed in their homes, diamond rings, when people are actually suffering. So what this current administration has done is to remove fuel subsidy so that this money, savings from this money, can be used to develop the country, provide infrastructure, intervene in the health sector, build roads, improve on our schools, and so on and so forth. And back to the 10th House of Representatives, our legislative agenda. You see, when His Excellency, the President of the country, brought the budget, in his budget speech, he made statements that are in tandem with our legislative agenda. And one of those statements, takeaways from that statement, which His Excellency, the Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, equally pointed out, the issue of the masses' welfare. He said this budget must be targeted at addressing, the welfare of the masses. We in the 10th Assembly are committed, religiously committed, to the welfare of the Nigerian masses. We want to see improvement on our constituent.
Indeed.
We want to see life being transformed from where it is today. And that's why if we go back to the popular song by one of our musicians, the one that says suffering and smiling, this time around, if we are passing through this phase as a sacrifice for the great future that awaits us, one won't be wrong, to say, yes, it is right to suffer and smile. It's just temporary. Yes, we believe that when this 2024 budget is being implemented, and what are we going to be doing in the next few days? We are going to be scrutinizing, every single line, every single detail, to ensure that we don't have duplicity of projects anywhere, to equally ensure that monies budgeted, the figures are right in tandem with current realities, and as a parliament, because it is our duty as representative of the people, to make adjustments. So where we see that the figures are too high, we're going to make sure that we reduce them. And of course, where the figures are not okay, based on current realities, we also have a duty as a parliament to suggest to Mr. President that this won't be enough. Yesterday, one of the committees of the House Committee on Works had a public hearing on the issue of concrete road and what do you call the other one?
The asphalt one.
The asphalt, right? And at that public hearing, which I was opportune to be part of, it was agreed that even the 390 billion naira being proposed in the budget for works is not enough at the moment to tackle, the deficit of infrastructure that we have in the country, the bad roads everywhere, and the current high prices of goods and commodities in the market, another thing. So as a parliament, we are going to be looking at some of these issues.
Indeed. And
yes.
What you're talking about now, your programs, your agendas within the House of Reps, of course, is based on the executive and the president's submission. He has to know that all those things are important. So you are going to be scrutinizing, as you said, to make sure that none of these items or these agendas are not given the full value. And you're also, since you've just spoken about scrutinizing it very, very carefully, it seems to me that the principle of accountability that already is embedded in the presentation.
Yes, the president mentioned accountability, improve accountability, improve transparency, improve spending on job creation. He said an economy that is job-friendly and provides jobs for the youth. He equally mentioned the issue of spending to improve on both external and internal security. And if you look at the legislative agenda of the 10th Assembly, these are some of our high points. We want to see improved governance, good governance, and we want to see transparency and accountability in the way things have been done in the past. Recently, we had this sectoral debate with the nation's security chiefs. The Chief of Defense Staff was there, Chief of Army Staff, including the Inspector General of Police. They came to Parliament, were asked very sensitive questions that border on the security of this country. And again, you see, the beauty of the 10th Assembly, I've said this before, and I'll continue to say it, because for me, from the other side where I came from before going into politics and becoming a parliamentarian, I am actually excited, at the kind of leadership being provided by His Excellency Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas. Because a system or a leadership that upholds the principle of transparency and accountability. And you see, accountability cannot just start. You can't go out and begin to tell the MDAs, you must be accountable. We want to see transparency in your business. The conduct of that leadership must on its own reflect what the leadership is preaching. And that is why I'm so much in love with the leadership of the House today under His Excellency Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas. Because you see that that transparency, from our discussions in the House, our motions and views, the kind of leadership that he's providing. It is one. And you saw what happened when His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu visited the Parliament House. After the vote of thanks by the Right Honorable Speaker, the President stood up. You see, we have categories of leaders as far as the world is concerned. There are some leaders who want to, be bamboozled into nice speeches, good talk, and people clap for them. But, we have a different kind of president. He's not one that is easily given to praises. He's a president who is also intellectually sound. So when he sees an intellect, he recognizes that. He wants to see, people in parliament. Asiwaju is one president that even his haters, his enemies, those who criticize him, you see him trying to relate with them because he believes in picking something useful from every, discourse that people engage in. And that was why he stood up that day after the Right Honorable Speaker, spoke into the text of the budget presentation that he carried out. When the Right Honorable Speaker mentioned the issue of improved accountability, improved transparency in the conduct of business activities, and he went further to say that this budget, the National Assembly, particularly the House of Representatives, is going to be committed to see, one, the budget change January to December period, which, has been a practice of late in the country, but has not been religiously adhered to. We in the House of Representatives want to see that budget cycle. And that's why His Excellency, the Right Honorable Speaker, yesterday opened the floor for members, to contribute to the debate as far as the budget presentation is concerned. And today, again, on the floor of the House, if you move to Abuja, you see that people are also making contributions. And so far, so good. The contributions across party lines, from the PDP, from the APC, Labour Party, and everybody, has been, one that's gone further to commend the effort of the president in putting this document together. So, Mr. Ayori, beyond this document, beyond the scrutiny, beyond what we do, in the next 1 month to, assent to approve this document, what happens? Now, it behoves on us as a House, to carry out our legislative activities in a way and manner that it reflects, the dictates of the 10th Assembly's legislative agenda. One, the way and manner we go about our oversight functions.
Okay. Yes, tell me
about
that.
It is very, very important.
I think most Nigerians listening to us will be interested to learn of the processes, how this is going to be processed.
Yes.
So maybe that's what you want to
Yes, it's not a document that will just approve, hand over back to Mr. President, he signs, and they begin to execute without us looking at how it is being executed. To the glory of God, today in the House, in the Parliament, particularly the House of Representatives, we have standing committees that are saddled by our rules, to oversight the various agencies and MDAs. So these committees are going to, adhere strictly to the highest standard of accountability and transparency. And that is why I said that the current leadership, is one that mirrors what we preach and what we have written down as a legislative agenda. If the speaker, does not demonstrate that level of transparency before the members of the House, remember that he will not enjoy the kind of cordial and friendly relationship that is existing, in the House. Today, Nigerians are saying that the House of Representatives seems to be more, more matured in posture, No, it is not entirely like that. It is a question of leadership.
Okay.
If you have a leadership that respects the idiosyncrasies of the 360 constituencies, that leadership will naturally, get respect back from the members. And once the members respect the leadership, the House will be united. And once the House is united, it's going to be in the interest of the Nigerian people. Okay, and
so we have, because this is going to require some measure of expertise to be able to look into the details.
Now, let me tell you something.
Okay, because that's going to be important.
Yes, very, very important. Because when His Excellency, the Right Honorable Speaker Tajuddin Abbas, was setting up the various committees, I've said this to you here on this program before, that it was not my doing to be in this committee where I'll be serving as the deputy spokesperson of the House. I never wanted it. My chairman has been the chairman of this
committee.
It's not
like you never wanted it. You never thought about it.
Exactly. The chairman of the House committee, Right Honorable Akin Rotimi, has been advisor on communication to minister, to governors and all of that. And today he's speaking for the House. Now we have Right Honorable Agbese, who is there to scrutinize as the chairman appropriation.
Okay.
He's a very fantastic, good head. He knows exactly what to do. Now we have other committees like Committee on Finance, Committee on FCT, Petroleum, Downstream, and so on and so forth. In fact, another good friend, popular, you all know him, Comrade Kenga Ugo Chinyere. He's the one in charge. Mr. Speaker has handed him the downstream sector of the oil industry and say, you be in charge. He's an activist. And we know very well when we are talking about improved oil revenue and oil production capacity of 1.78 million barrels per day. How are you going to achieve that if you don't have proper people, fit and proper persons, in some of these committees to look at these issues? So, and you know very well that oil theft has been a serious concern as far as this country is concerned. So you now have people like Ugo Chinyere, scrutinizing what is going on in the oil sector. You have Agbese, in appropriation, and several other distinguished Nigerians, people who, have proven track record. So another area that we must commend, Mr. Speaker, because in time past, you are given a committee in the House to head on the basis of who you know, and so on and so forth. But today, so this specialty, this expertise that you talk about,
do you have the resources that will also help in what you're talking about? Because you see, what I mean by resources is that offices, research people, all those assistants, because there's only so much that one person can do. But one person, talk to me about the facilities available to legislators.
No, we do to a large extent. And because life is a continuous process, what we have at the moment, you remember when Nigerians were talking about the work tools for the parliamentarians, the vehicles, procured for, and we said no. A time is coming that everybody will need this vehicle to move from one point to another. Looking at the situation of our roads, the durability, for the kind of car that we require and all of that. You see, before I came into Parliament, I tell people that a Parliament is an institution that, to a large extent, in terms of what you get, is over-exaggerated. Because you just think that once you are voted into Parliament, you have become a big man. My brother, that is not true.
Yeah, in fact, sorry to interrupt you, Honorable. Whereas what you're talking about is important, but I'm talking about a support system.
Yes, so it's a continuous process. Before now, the various committees
there will have to be knowledgeable people, research people, and that kind of a thing.
Yes.
As you were saying, it's an intellectual. There's an intellectual aspect.
No, that's very correct. You see, before now, after the committees were fully constituted, some of our development partners, Yaga Africa, PLAC, so many of these international organizations, they have organized seminars and workshops to interface with these committees on public accounts, NDDC, including my own committee. Imagine someone like me, being retrained on the rudiments of parliament and media exposure. Strategic communication, how to communicate the parliament to the outside community. I can tell you, sir, for free, that the average parliamentarian, particularly members of the 10th House of Assembly, is a whole library.
Okay.
It is a home of intellectuals. Sometimes when I see some of my colleagues, look, they say it's deceptive. Sometimes you see a colleague, who is coming from one remote part of the country, but, intellectually, he's very sound. He knows what he's doing. I mentioned the issue of the House Committee public hearing yesterday. One of our colleagues, I wouldn't want to mention his name on air, but he virtually schooled the participants yesterday. He's an engineer, voted into Parliament, and he knows everything about concrete road. He lectured us for 10 minutes yesterday to educate each and every one of us. So these are the people who are going to be looking into this document.
Exactly.
And
simply because experts would have been employed by the executive as
in
putting all of this together. So there must be experts to be able to, as you said, oversee.
Yes, some of our committees have consultants And these consultants, apart from the secretariat staff, they still help to provide another secondary level of check, to help us in anything that we are doing. So as a matter of fact, I can bet you, believe you me, that Nigerians have voted the right set of people into this parliament.
That's good
and
to hear.
Parliament will never disappoint the masses of our country.
It's good to hear. Let me bring on our first caller this morning, Wole, who has called in from Ibadan. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, Uncle Yeri.
Thank you for calling. Good morning.
And good morning to your guest, Honorable Agbese.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
We are in critical times. What that means is that our representatives and our leaders must live up to expectation.
Yes.
Much is expected from them. Be that as it may, the budget itself, the bottom line of the budget is the performance, the implementation, because that is what impacts on the Nigerian people. So they must focus on the implementation. They might not get the figures right because it's been the first time. It is after this first year that they will be able to know where to plug in and where to subtract. So this first year, we are just going to give them that as an experiment to try to turn things around. Now, yesterday you were talking about education and the student loan. I want us to be realistic. Education, tertiary education can never be funded alone by the government. There must be interventions. In other times, alumni bodies contribute a lot. There are endowments. Now we have a student loan bank. Now, what's the essence of the student loan bank? If schools will not charge fees, why are you bringing in the banks? Why are you giving them loans if you cannot charge fees? Because it is these fees that will increase the internal generated revenue of these universities to be able to help themselves. So if you're not going to charge fees, you don't need to bring in the student loans. Leave things as they are.
Okay.
And there are so many ways to go about these things.
Indeed.
If you are giving them loans.
Okay.
The universities can tell you their charges. And the bank will forward this straight to the university without getting to any other person. So we need to be realistic.
Okay.
The loans are not just there for decoration. They should be taken to enhance the efficiency of the universities by letting the university charge fees.
All right then. Thank you very much for calling in, and indeed, that's Mr. Wole calling in from Ibadan. As you can hear, he linked it to what we were talking about yesterday because this is the same subject matter. Maybe your thoughts on his submission, because he's suggesting some things that if he was one of you, he would no doubt would bring it up in your conversations about whether or not it is the most efficient way to proceed. I'm sure you also will be concerning yourself with certain things.
Yes, you see, why I'm always excited to appear on this program is the level of patriotism that citizens have shown, when making contributions to this program. And what Wole from Ibadan has said is nothing but very correct. And part of our legislative agenda, His Excellency, the Right Honorable Speaker, mentioned the issue of further subjecting this budget to a town hall meeting. For the very first time in the history of this country, we are going to be having a town hall debate on the budget, so that not just that as an executive, government has put figures together, made proposals, but for us as parliamentarians and representatives of the Nigerian people to take this document back to the people for their own input. So a part of our representative function, is to get feedback from the people, the very people that we represent. And Mr. Speaker has said, as part of this budget town hall meetings, members from the north will be drafted to the south. Okay. And members from the south will go to the north, to interact with the people. So that when you arrive, you don't get to meet this issue of, our leader, Rankadede. It takes 30 minutes, 1 hour for people to come and shout Rankadede before you know the essence of the event is lost. But members are going to move out in this budget town hall debate, to interact directly with people. Because, like he rightly mentioned, the issue of education cannot be left to government alone. Even though we have an organization like TED Fund, set up by an act of parliament to cater for the educational needs of the country. Is it not high time we reviewed the TED Fund Act to equally give room to other beneficiaries like the private institutions, since they are also Nigerian institutions? How do we increase what we are getting in the funds? Okay. This current house, we carried out an assessment of TED Fund projects recently, and we saw that, yes, truly they are doing something. And if they are truly doing something, is the money they are getting, is it enough to do all that they should do for us?
Okay,
so
exactly, because that point was brought up yesterday.
So as parliamentarians, we have a whole lot to do for this country. And that is why His Excellency, the Right Honorable Speaker, has charged each and every one of us and say, in the next 4 years, Bola mentioned the issue of using this first year budget to experiment. And that area, I want to disagree with him because I've been voted into parliament for 4 years. Okay. So if I fail in my first year to perform in the next 3 years, what am I going to tell my people?
Okay, let me take a quick
So there's no experiment.
We'll be right back, and I'll pick up on that very point as soon as we come back. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back. Welcome back, and our guest this morning is the Deputy Spokesman of the House of Representatives, Honorable Philip Agbese. And we understand that Benga in Abuja, is on the line. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you for holding on.
Good morning, Mr. Yori. Good morning, Honorable.
Thank you for calling in.
This is a very interesting discussion. And I want to congratulate President Tinubu on his first speech and presentation of budget at National Assembly. It's a glorious, it's a dream come true. That budget, 2.7 trillion naira, some people say it's very ambitious. To me, it's very small. If we really want to tackle this infrastructure deficit in this country, we need not less than 80 to 100 billion naira. But I realize that the resources is not there to do that now. So let's take it bit by bit, see how it can go. But the question people are asking is, why is he borrowing money? And I say, why would he not borrow? You want the budget to be done according to our resources, then we not move an inch forward as a nation. Every nation borrow to fund infrastructure that will return the money, that will bring profit, that will elevate the economy, that will bring jobs and the rest. Only if they are borrowing for goody and just a celebration, that's when we'll be against it. But some are saying that the Minister of Finance said will not borrow. He didn't say will not borrow. He said will not borrow as much as it. If you look at the fraction, the percentage of the borrowing is about 30-something%, which is still manageable. But the question is, how will Tinubu raise the 18 trillion naira from Nigeria economy? I'm saying that where he has the capacity to do so, he did in Lagos from 500 million naira every month to 500 billion. But that time and this time, they are not the same. So I'm praying that God will help him to do that. Okay. But first of all, people are kind of cutting of costs, and that's an issue that we should discuss. The president should see that there's no wastage in the ministry. I'm a resident of Abuja. We know what happened in the ministry. A lot of wastage, a lot of devotees, a lot of things they don't need, they are buying it just because they want to get one money or the other. I think that should be a task force to see that everything in that budget are the things that can affect lives, can affect the city, that can reduce inflation, that can reduce property, and that makes life better for the citizens.
All right, then.
That's a task force. That's my advice for him. I wish him well that he should be able to do it, and I know that we increase our oil revenue through by blocking all these leakages and stealing of oil. So 2.2 million barrel per day, I think we can go further. Then I'm surprised that he sees dollar rate at 700 naira. Does it mean that our dollar and I will not appreciate? Let's wait and see what will happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Benga, calling in your commentary. You see, people are very, very interested in their own welfare, and I think it's a sort of a vote of confidence for the legislature that we have, that, these are our representatives. So they are saying that those concerns that you expressed and that you are fully ready to combat and address, in fact, well, maybe I shouldn't use combat, but still, we are going to be very, very aggressive in our enthusiasm.
We will confront challenges. We'll combat them where necessary.
Okay.
That is why we have been elected by the people.
Okay.
Yes, there's no half measure to the mandate given to us. And like I said earlier in my just my last response, we are ready, combat ready. We have been elected for a period of 4 years, not 3 years, so there will be no experiment.
Okay, you said that in relation to the elder who called in, I think from Ibadan.
Yes.
Saying that, look, we understand that, things might still be a bit wobbly in this first outing, but you use all of that for knowledge and for study.
No.
And so by the time you come back next time.
Nobody in anywhere in the world uses an instrument of governance for preparation or experiment. We cannot. We won't take that. The 10th Assembly won't take that from anybody. And that is why we are fully out. You see, upon inauguration, June 13th, since we commenced our city, we've not had rest for a single day. That is to tell you that every single one of us...
Yeah, but that elder who called in from Ibadan, he's expecting that next
year...
that next one, you're going to be sharper.
No.
All this, as sharp as you are saying now, that you would have garnered experience along the way as well.
In a way, I will agree with him. In a way, I will agree with him.
What you are saying is that we are not allowing any slackness as a result of it being the first time.
You see, it took His Excellency, the Right Honorable Speaker, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, less than 3 months to unveil his legislative agenda. And that legislative agenda, I've suggested to the MDAs that it should also be their working tool.
Now, when you talk, you've mentioned the legislative agenda in the House of Representatives. How, just briefly recap it. How is it different from the whole, the House itself? That is the National Assembly. Is it a specialized agenda under the agenda of the National Assembly that comprises both your House and the Senate?
Well, at the moment, yes, the Senate, in line with the Constitution, already know exactly what they want to achieve in the next 4 years. In our own case, what we did, and which is slightly different, is the fact that we came together as a House, as a Parliament, to look at the very critical questions that are bedeviling this country at this particular period of time. And, today we have 8...
As the Green Chamber?
Yes, as a Green Chamber. And we have 8 political parties, different philosophies, different party manifestos, different programs and ideologies. Now came together and say, how do we adopt a working document in the overall interest of the over 240 million citizens that we represent?
A program that will harmonize all
together.
Of these together.
Right. Under the inspiration of the Right Honorable Speaker.
Okay. I'm sure you want to continue, but I don't want to keep Easy. Easy called in from Yenagoa, and he's on the line. Good morning, Easy. Easy. Why did you go away so easily now? That was... so sorry. See if you can get back in. Easy had called in from Yenagoa, and I hadn't delayed too much, but I wanted you to learn. But yeah.
Yes. So now this document,
trying to blend, as it were, in a way.
This document
for the benefit of Nigeria.
Wholly accepted and adopted by the entire House. I will now say this, irrespective of our religion, will serve as our Quran. This, irrespective of our political party, will serve as our manifesto. And this will further make life easier for those who want to interface.
Because there's a focus.
Yes, and interact.
There's an agreed focus.
Yes, for those who want to interact with the Parliament.
Okay.
For those who want to interact with the Parliament, if you go in this direction, the Parliament will go with you. If you go in this direction, in terms of accountability and transparency, the Parliament will always be with you. When we unveiled that document, the document, first, we had input from members of the public, civil society organizations. That's why we came to Lagos here. My committee, the Media and Public Affairs, we came to Lagos here, interface with people to get contributions. The committee on the legislative agenda, drafting of the legislative agenda, fixed a date where civil society organizations, constituents, and everybody was invited to a large town hall meeting. Contributions made. So members of the National Assembly, members of the 10th Assembly House of Representatives, didn't just work on this document on their own. This document is not an APC document. It is not a YPP document. It's not a PDP document. It is a document that is going to serve as a reference point and as a guide for the 10th Assembly House of Representatives.
So if I understand you properly, you know, when it comes to, well, this is the whole, that is why I was a bit inquisitive. Everything you people do there in the Green Chamber or the Red Chamber, but we're speaking about the Green Chamber now, is going to be in the national interest with a national focus.
Yes.
So, but still, because you are from different political families, there might be clashing agendas. What you seem to be saying is that all of that has been ironed out in what you are calling...
You see that, yes, the legislative agenda to a large extent even guides, you know, our debate.
Okay.
Yeah, because you see,
because
I've noticed something, even as an insider, that when motions on serious national issues are raised from somewhere in the South, you see members from the North,
you
know,
within the same house,
raising their hands to support that motion. In the past, the parliament that we studied before we came on board was not
like necessarily like that.
Like this.
Let me
see some level of peace and tranquility.
Let me not risk losing another caller who has called in, and that's who do I have also that has called in? Hello, Mr. Joshua from. Yes, good morning to you. You give us
good morning.
You give us various names, but we know our man.
You lost the call again?
Yes, but that is Mr. Joshua from Irewolede. He is the same person who is Toba. It depends, you know, because you also might have a middle name yourself. Sometimes he uses his first name, sometimes he uses his middle name. But see if you can get back in, Mr. Joshua Toba from Irewolede. We lost that call. That one was, I just don't know what happened. But
no. You see, there is another beautiful thing. When one of the callers, Benga, mentioned the issue of sources of funding for the budget.
Yes,
and
yes.
You see, it is also another important thing, you know, where there is collaboration between the executive and the parliament, you know, to provide an enabling environment for direct foreign investment and even for private sector participation. You know, it goes a long way to help the economy. And you see, with the kind of house that we have today, we are looking at our laws, you know, where we see that there are needs for some kind of amendments. We are ready to do them. You know, we have already commenced all this.
Because that's your primary agenda focus
agenda.
Anyhow.
Yes,
you're a lawmaking house.
Yeah, no. You see, it is one thing to be a lawmaking house, but again, another thing to be a lawmaking house, one that has the interest of the masses as its priority.
Okay.
Yes. So when we look at...
So we can't take that for granted?
No, we're not. We're not taking
We can't take it for granted?
Not at all.
But once you get elected to that esteemed house over there, all your sectional interests, you know, they sort of, you know, almost fade away.
No,
yes. In the greater national interest.
Yes. We have buried all of that. And that is why, you see, Nigerians are already happy about the conduct of the House.
Sorry, Mr. Joshua is back. Let's see. Good morning to you, Mr. Joshua in Irewolede.
Oh, very good morning. This network is
Thank
cooperating
you
with
for calling
me.
back in. Okay.
Because I'm enjoying your guest. I'm delighted that this assembly will have brains. We have people who are thinking. And I'm happy about the agenda he's talking about that harmonizes the entire activity of the House, that helps them to speak with one voice. This is beautiful. Something tells me that Nigeria is going to work. You see, I would suggest, Uncle Yori, that since this your platform is a national platform, we should be talking more about patriotism, which is completely lost in Nigeria. Most people think they've lost faith or hope in Nigeria, but there's no need for that. This is the country we have. We can build it together. Now, the lawmaker there is expressing that exactly. Even if they mean to do things wrongly, they should know that we are talking to them. They are connecting. These people should know that they have people out there who are wishing them well. And they should go out there and do well. That's what we are asking them to do. That's what we need now. We don't need gaming ourselves. We don't need playing politics any longer.
Okay.
We need to build a nation that works for everyone.
Indeed.
And for the law that they are there to pass, there's something that has been eluding Nigeria. That is structure. This country does not have structures. That is why somebody can come and condemn everything someone else has done, and then they start all over again. Let him imagine they put all this hard work in place, they build structures, and then Nigeria starts working. And another government comes in and nothing, they just pull down everything. Please, your law is a tool, is an instrument for you to use to put structures in place so that anybody that comes will be challenged either to match, to fall down, or to improve upon what you have done. So don't just focus on doing it like that, as it were. Please, they should also focus, especially using this budget, to build structures. We need structures in Nigeria.
Indeed. Where
all of us can speak from. I really appreciate him. I have nothing more to say to what he's saying. If they go ahead and work the way they are working, it will give all of us hope.
All right, then.
Once again, Nigeria can work. Uncle Yori, your program is good.
Thank you very much.
You are helping Nigeria. You are building Nigeria. Your home will be built. All your team, all of you will succeed well.
Thank you
because
very
you are
much.
Helping Nigeria to succeed.
Thank you
very much for your sacrifices.
All right, then. So he's talking there about what I know already is in you as well. Hope for this country. He's not despondent about it. He's very optimistic, and he's saying, with the kind of caliber of what he's seeing, you are an indication to him of, the composition of the greenhouse, and that is a very hopeful situation.
Yes,
the budget itself is a budget of hope.
Yes, I want to thank him for that commendation. And beyond that, even his patriotism, because you see, to look at issues and present them, properly, the way they should, and even to have this domain awareness of understanding your own surrounding and believing in your own country, is commendable. Beyond the commendations that he has passed to us, which I believe will be extended to every member of the 10th Assembly, including the Senate. Yes.
Talking about this renewal of hope.
Yes, renewal of hope. You see, we have seen a president, who is carrying on with some level of strange courage. Yes.
That's a nice one.
Yes.
Because it's uncanny, really,
yes,
when you look at it.
Yes, because the courage, to dare those who have constituted themselves into an institution, in the palace of corruption, it's unthinkable. So we must commend the president. And when you have a leader that is focused, what Nigerians are getting from the House of Representatives today is a question. I said earlier, it's a question of leadership. Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas is offering the best form of leadership. One that carries, that understands the workings of the executive. One that is responsible, to the constituent and immediate membership of the parliament. One that looks at issues beyond political lines or regional or ethnic sentiment. So if you have this kind of leaders, one at the executive level, another one in the parliament, and we now have a new kind of leadership, that is ready, always with our doors open to accommodate, the views of the public, the civil society, what Nigerians express, through the media.
Okay.
Then you know that, yes, we are all working together. The citizens are working with the government. We are working with the executive. The executive is working, in the overall interest of the citizens of this country.
Exactly.
So there is no way, we will not make progress.
In terms of
rapid progress.
Indeed. In terms of processing the 2024 budget, what are the timelines that you have in mind in the legislative house, for completion of work? Because we were speaking before coming on air, and you said that the speaker has indicated that if need be, you guys don't mind working right around the clock.
As I speak to you, the House is in session. Tomorrow, a very critical meeting has been scheduled by the chairman of appropriation, Right Honorable Abakar Bichi, for chairmen and deputies of committees, to interact with them and to give a guide as to how this document will be scrutinized, to the kind of input that will represent the legislative agenda that we talk about, what we intend to achieve as a house, and what we want to see the executive achieve in the overall interest of the Nigerian masses. So I won't be able to say much on that, other than the fact that, one, our cardinal objective is to ensure that beyond the document, beyond the indices
without unnecessary foot dragging
as
soon as possible.
We're not. Our constituents are in a hurry for development.
Let me bring in our last caller, Mr. Adewusi from Akoka. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
Yes, let me first of all congratulate your guest, Philip. I watched him on NTA yesterday, and I'm happy with what he's presenting and the way he's making his presentation. God bless him, and God will bless Nigeria.
Amen.
That is number one. Number two, I want to plead with him, even if he can have the president here. There's one very vital sector that is missing in Nigeria economy, and that is marketing. We don't know how to market the country and ourselves and our products and services. If we can find a way to work with Nigerian Institute of Marketing and other professionals in the marketing industry, it will go a long way to help us. Because there are a lot of things that is said about food inflation, disinflation, that are mere mirage. I'm telling you, I go to market myself, I'm a man, and I know the way I price things compared to some other things. So if they can work on the marketing aspect of the country, how to market everything, it will go a long way to help this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for calling in. And you were speaking about having various specialists within your midst.
Yes, that we don't even... let me first thank him for the comment. And to say this, you see, the problem we had in the country in the past is that the various arms of government, particularly the parliament and the executive, probably did not understand the need for the kind of synergy that we have today. You see, as a parliamentarian, you don't necessarily have to remove your clothes and set yourself, for blows, for people to know that you are working. Look at what Mr. Speaker did. When we came on board, His Excellency Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas he traveled to somewhere in Cameroon, in one of these international parliamentarian functions. Another one somewhere in South Africa or so, not South Africa, but Dubai. He has been, visiting, other countries and discussing with other parliaments, like the Pan-African Parliament, which is purely for African Parliament, the Commonwealth Parliament visit, and the speeches that His Excellency, the Right Honorable Speaker made at those events. They actually sold the country out as a new destination for investors.
Okay.
Because people are interested. People want to know, how safe their resources will be when they invest this money in the country. Will the parliament just fold its hand for the executive to go about, change the rules, at the middle of the march?
So it's a new dawn.
Yes,
it's a new dawn for the legislature, is what you are saying.
Not just for the legislature, for the country.
Of course, you're working for the country.
Exactly.
You're working for the country.
Mr. President and his team, they are doing their best. Again, Mr. Speaker, the Senate President, members of the Parliament are also crisscrossing. Today, our parliamentarians are in Dubai for the summit on climate change. And right again, if you look at the budget presentation speech, the president equally talked about a climate that is safe for people to live in.
Indeed.
Right. And that is part of the global campaign. So the seriousness, of this parliament, particularly that of the Right Honorable Speaker, to showcase what we have, to showcase our seriousness to the world, I believe is a strong point for the economy and the business climate as far as the country is concerned.
Which keys into the marketing that last caller spoke about.
That's what I'm
Nigeria
talking about.
must be marketed, as some people are demarketing the country Nigeria must be constantly, constructively marketed most effectively.
In the parliament.
We've run out of time now,
Thank you very much.
I want to thank you very much for coming along and speaking with us. And I'm so glad that our viewers themselves are very appreciative that you've come along to speak to us in this neck of the woods as well. Okay, that's Honorable Philip Agbese, Deputy Spokesman, House of Representatives. He's the APC member from Ogbadibo Federal Constituency.
No, Ado Okpoku Ogbadibo.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That in Benue State.
Yes.
Of Benue State. Thank you very much for coming on.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, so that's our program today then. Please join us on Monday for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folarin. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye for now.